Hey everyone, welcome back to DC-Cember as we continue on the top 10 villains from Batman the Animated Series. We're going to start with a number 4, Clayface.
There is no Hagen. It's only me now. Clayface!
This is like the Basil Karloff version from the comics, but with Matt Hagen's name.
True, definitely one of the more tragic and sympathetic villains. Though probably not as high as like with Two-Face, but for Clayface, definitely impactful for how like his whole body has become transformed.
He plays one of the best episodes of the anime series too. Another one that I will show people if they've never seen Batman for the first time.
Yeah.
Definitely part 2, because part 2 I think has one of the best anime sequences.
Yes.
They're at the end with all the screens. Yeah. Some of the most amazing, just the way it transforms. It's cool. And then going into the new Batman Adventures, Growing Pains is one of the most heartbreaking episodes ever with the little girl Annie who befriends Robin and Tim Drake, and she ends up being a piece of Clayface.
Yeah, that just shows how unique his abilities are, like how he can like split up into other entities, but I guess how like those other entities they can develop a consciousness of their own.
I feel like there's a transgender reading of the character too, where you get into the way because he'll transform into men or women, when needed, and the fact that he's able to create Annie out of his own consciousness, like a piece of him, that's a really interesting aspect of Clayface too that I think doesn't get thought of nearly enough.
True, I guess so, but I mean, there's really no limits with shapeshifting. Like with enough concentration, you can pretty much be anything or anyone you want.
Disguised himself as a vase for 10 hours.
That's right. He does appear again for the Justice League episode Secret Society, where Clayface is working with Grodd, and he was in a vase that was owned by Mortgage.
It is weird how like for his motivations, like it somewhat changes. Like after his transformation, it was all about like, trying to find a cure, but then through Growing Pains and Holiday Nights, it was just making bank robberies, and then by Justice League, it's all about still finding a cure.
Ultimately, that's what he wants. And then he does come back for Batman the Adventures Continue on multiple occasions. He, again, like tricked Robin into thinking Annie was back, which was a really mean move for a page.
Beans.
And then he comes back in season 2 where he's pretending to be this new mercenary. I'm trying to remember his name. He's like this actor. Do you remember, James? There's like this fight scene where he's like looks like Errol Flynn, the actor.
Oh yeah,
he's like in this tuxedo.
Had blocked that out. I forgot.
I know.
I was like,
for a second,
when does
you
he
think
come
like,
back?
I know. So it's like, oh, it's a new character, but it's not. It's just Clayface, like pretending to be a new dude.
Yeah.
So I guess as far as for Clayface, like he has a great origin, amazing abilities, and nothing really too negative with his persona. He's just a guy that wants just to be back to normal despite his mistakes.
I know went on to inspire the character of Ink, but we'll get to her later, maybe.
I think he's as high as he is on the average here because he's just one of the most like probably after Mr. Freeze, he's the most tragic guy. Although I guess Two-Face you could throw up there, but I feel a little worse for Clayface. Like Two-Face already had his issues. Harvey had his problems that he couldn't really get past, and Clayface was just an addict, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it, he got a lot more screwed over, I think.
Matt Hagen is history. This time for good. He's never coming back again.
Now for number 3.
Freeze!
That's Mr. Freeze to you.
He was basically an original character for the anime series.
I do like that his first episode starts off with just like, a series of cold-themed crimes or whatever are happening, which makes you think that it's just going to be like the character before BTAS was just, I do cold crimes, that's it. But then they turn it on its head of like, this is actually the most interesting character on this entire show.
That's just a tribute to Paul Dini's writing. Maybe a little bit corny at first, but there is a layer underneath that.
A layer of ice.
Like an iceberg.
Yeah, Freeze is definitely probably the most tragic characters with everything it would do with Nora and afterwards, depending where they go with Bruce Timm's original ideas or even like with what happened post Sub-Zero.
That's right, because in the DCAU there's a split because the Sub-Zero movie brings Nora back to life, but there's the Batman Adventures Holiday Special where Freeze is visiting her grave one Christmas, and so
and
it's
then
like
adventures continue. They kill her again, and as much as we disagree on our channel with the decisions made surrounding like, is Nora alive? Is Nora dead? What's going on? All this stuff. Like, I think all of that just shows that how much the creators and writers like care about this character, that they're like, no, I'm in charge of where he's going, where his trajectory is. No, in the future he's just a chopped off head in a jar. Like there's no. It's a testament to how much for the better they changed this character, that now they're like arguing over where he should go next.
Because he kept appearing in tie-in comics and Batman Gotham Adventures and Batman Adventures Volume 2, that expanded on his relationship with Nora after she did return to life after Sub-Zero. She ends up marrying a new husband, and so there's like, Freeze has to go through this arc of being okay that she's found love with someone else, but then he ends up being a bad dude, and Nora and Freeze kind of get back together later in a way. There's definitely a lot more to Mr. Freeze in the DCAU than what we see on screen, if you count the tie-in material, and I think that's especially what elevates this character.
And I think even not thinking about those comics, if you're just focusing on the episodes, he has still to me the most interesting, like, even I think he has like 4 total episodes essentially, and there's just, he's still the most interesting to follow character arc. There's so many other villains that have 1,000 more appearances than him, but when he shows up, like Ra's al Ghul or some of these other ones, it's like, okay, this is going to be a big deal. I'm going to need to pay attention to this. And it's the ones that you remember, like the ones that stick out. Of the 85 episodes of this show, 2 of them are Mr. Freeze episodes. And you're like, oh, yeah, I love those ones. Those are the greatest. So,
yeah, because like Deep Freeze was pretty much near the end of the BTAS run. So you think Mr. Freeze would be just a one-shot character, because I think in the original episode, they made it seem like Nora was like dead
as a doornail, said Bruce Timm.
But then with Deep Freeze, you see her back to life, and then we get a new motivation for Freeze. Instead of just vengeance with the cold crimes, now it's just doing whatever he can to find a cure for Nora. And that enables him also like to create unique team-ups with Batman as long as Nora is safe.
And the Sub-Zero movie, even though it gets a lot of flack for being like not as good as Mask of the Phantasm or whatever, and coming out around the time of Batman and Robin, it had not a lot of great things going for it, but it's still one of my like half guilty pleasure, half I actually like it Batman animated movies. It's a lot more action packed than Phantasm is. I think Phantasm is still a much better overall movie, but Sub-Zero is like I'm more of a popcorn, I gotta put something on kind of a deal, and it's just fun. So, and I like that it's both continues the tragedy of Mr. Freeze while somehow having like coolest Batman and Robin.
Coolest.
Yeah, I should have caught that, Ted. Roots. The coolest action scenes of any of this series. So
yeah, I mean, Freeze has definitely switches between like henchmen, where it's like regular goons, then Eskimo girls in TMBA, then freaking polar bears. Like, I feel like polar bears, like, it's corny, but it actually works.
His relationship with the polar bears are cool.
And the fact that he's got what's his face, Kunak there with him on the oil rig is like, he does have a human side to him. He's not just that's the best part of all of these top villains, is that like in a certain standpoint they are just people trying to help themselves or their loved ones, and Batman's like, well, but you're killing people, so I don't know if I can really let you do that anymore. And they punch him in the face. So
yeah,
throw chicken soup at him.
Mr. Freeze is definitely a classic example that sometimes like they may not be quite as cold-hearted as they pretend to be. It's just they get swept up in their personas too much. They feel like it's necessary to overcome any challenges that come their way.
And his reappearance in Batman Beyond is amazing. That's one of the standout episodes. Meltdown.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like Freeze's arc should have just ended at Sub-Zero, where it was like a sort of a somber, happy ending with Nora alive and stuff, and Freeze just, lives in isolation for now while he recovers. But Meltdown was still pretty good because we see the results of his condition with being ahead, and yet even being given a new life. There's just that part of his past self that just resurfaces, genetically speaking. Plus, his design there is pretty cool, like a kind of a precursor to the Batman, where instead of a freezing gun, pretty much like ice gauntlet thing.
And that kind of like silhouette skull face kind of deal is pretty. It's kind of a modern visual for him too.
Yeah, because definitely like where he has like the goggles, not just red eyes.
Yeah.
Although red eyes would make sense given his condition, but I always felt the goggles, like, it just made it look more intimidating.
Yeah,
Oh,
a lot of the time I'll see fan art that uses the new Batman Adventures suit, but the BTAS head, like as the goggles look better. But yeah.
In the conclusion of Meltdown, like how he pretty much just decided, like, I'm just going to basically bury myself underneath all this ice. I think that's
It's what he deserves or whatever, like he feels. Yeah.
I feel like after his appearance in Sub-Zero, every time after that, he's kind of just looking for a way to die. I mean, like, even in Deep Freeze, that's why Grant Walker found him, was to try to find a ways to immortality. And so, yeah, I don't think he asked to stick around at Batman Beyond times as a head in a jar. I don't imagine anybody would want that.
Yeah, that's true. He's actually one of the few people I've seen that doesn't look for a cure for his condition. Just looks for a way just to end the pain.
And yet, there hasn't been a day, an hour, a minute I haven't thought about death. It obsesses me, even now.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned as tomorrow we'll continue with our list for the week. Also, be on the lookout for the upcoming Multiverse fundraiser on January 20th to the 22nd of next year. And click on the link to check the newest series, Anonymous, at their website and see its first 2 episodes for free. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content, as more will come on DC-Cember.